Public Safety Committee is to order. As always, we will start with our invocation and pledge. Who's going to do that? Al.
Let us pray. Praise God. Heavenly Father, we're thankful once again for the opportunity to be here. Encourage our hearts and uplift us. Keep thy hands upon all of our service members overseas. Yes, O Lord, within harm's way. Bless our country, all the families throughout. Touch our public safety. Touch each and every heart here today and uplift us and give us strength and encouragement so that we might be able to stand up and do what's right in all eyes and help those who are less fortunate than us. For we ask it all today in the name of Christ our Savior. Amen. Attention to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Al. All right, public input, we'll call Chief Tanner if he would come up and kind of give us some information.
Good morning. I think y'all, all the smoke issues we had in the neighborhood, it's primarily coming from a wildfire that happened over off of 378 in Marion County in the Woodbury Preserve. It's been there for a while, and honestly, I don't know anything we can do with it until it rains, to be quite frank with you. The foresters on site there, we've been in contact with them about every day, but there's nothing they can do with it either. So it's because of the inversion every morning, you see the smoke coming in. As the day gets warmer, it begins to lift off. We're going to keep seeing that, I think, until we see some rain. And there's nothing we can do about that. Okay?
Pray for it.
Absolutely.
Pray for rain.
We need lots of rain.
Amen.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, review and approval of agenda contents.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of minutes for February 10th, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, resolutions. Chairman Gardner, he's not here.
He asked me to fill in for him on this.
Okay,
So April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and we would like to have that recognized in Horry County as well.
all right. All in favor? Second. All in favor?
Yay.
Good. All right, Ms. Hardwick, recognize the public safety technology upgrades.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We spent the past 4 years configuring, building, designing a new public safety software package that affects almost every division of public safety and our municipality partners and our municipalities and all. There was a lot of hours and hard work, and they're continuing to tweak the system. So it's the gift that keeps giving today. So at the May 5th council meeting, I would like to recognize those folks for all the hard work that they've done during this 4-year project.
Motion on that. County multi-church and all hazard mitigation plan.
Well,
Is there-
motion, we move forward with staff's recommendation?
Second. On item number 2.
Yes, sir. Second.
Yeah, I believe it's a resolution in the packet, so it does require a vote, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry, yes, we do need to vote on that.
We have a motion. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Hodge.
Good morning, Chairman and Public Safety Committee. Horry County Emergency Management is requesting by resolution the adoption of the multi-jurisdictional all-hazard mitigation plan, a federally required document that identifies long-term strategies to reduce risk and hazards as hurricanes, floods, and severe weather events. This plan was developed over the past year with the help of all the municipalities within Horry County, utilities, school districts, and other key partners, ensuring a unified countywide approach to hazard mitigation. It meets the requirements established by FEMA, and most importantly, the adoption is necessary for Horry County to remain proactive with flooding events and help community resilience projects. This 5-year plan is a living document, meaning that it will continue to be updated with additional actions and revisions throughout the years that reflect the ongoing risks, projects, and priorities. The plan was initiated in January of 2025, submitted to the state in November of 2025, and forwarded to FEMA for final review, where currently has been delayed during the federal backlog. Adoption of this resolution ensures continued compliance and maintenance, gives us access to federal funding opportunities. Additionally, each participating jurisdiction, special purpose district, and partner agency must also, through a resolution, adopt this plan to keep the funding coming underneath this plan. This action demonstrates the county's commitment to proactive risk reduction, and it positions Horry County and its partners for better protection of lives, property, and critical infrastructure from future disasters. I'd like to present that resolution that y'all have in your packet.
I'd like to make a motion to move forward with staff's recommendation.
Second.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Jeff Pino, proclaiming week of May 16th to 22nd as National Safe Boating Week.
Good morning. My name is Jeff Pino. Thank you for having me. I'm an Assistant Director of Public Affairs for Coast Guard Auxiliary, and I'm here to discuss briefly the 2026 National Safe Boating Week, which will be held May 16th through the 22nd, 2026. The campaign that we're going to have this year is going to be called Adventure Ready. It emphasizes preparation for education and wearing life jackets to ensure safety. The campaign encourages boaters to check safety gear, take courses, and wear life jackets. Some statistics: Coast Guard reports that 76% of boating deaths are due to drowning, and that 87% of drowning victims were not wearing life jackets. 69% of deaths occur on boats where the operator had no safety instruction, and with the vast majority of accidents caused by human error, poor judgment, and not by boater equipment or environmental factors. Coast Guard reports that the state of South Carolina is the 4th highest in boating incidents. I would ask that you would approve the resolution that's in your packet to proclaim that May 16th through 22, 2026 will be National Safe Boaters Week. Thank you.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Move second, all in favor? Motion carries. All right, Chief Tanner, designating week 17th to the 23rd as emergency medical services.
Good morning. As once again, we look at the proclamation for Emergency Medical Services Week and May 17th through 23rd. Our EMS folks responded to over 70,000 individual EMS incidents last year and continue to do that even to this day. Our theme this year is improving outcomes together. So I'd like to recognize our EMS providers and our partners for doing that every year, if you would.
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you.
Need them when you need them.
Thank you.
Sheriff Thompson, declaring a service weapon.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Mr. Chairman, and members of the Public Safety Committee. In your packets, I think you have a resolution declaring a service weapon as surplus property to make it available to one of our retiring officers. Lieutenant Brooks James is retiring on June the 30th. So we ask that you be able to do that so we can provide him with his service weapon.
So moved. He's a good man from Maine.
Second.
Hate to see him go.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Sir. Okay, Miss Kathy Floyd, I think you've got several grants you want to talk about.
Good morning. The first grant that we've applied for is a new grant. It's with South Carolina Department of Public Safety. It's a Burn State Crisis Grant. It's for our drug court. is for two positions. One is a peer support specialist, and the other one is a compliance officer to help with our curfew checks and drug testing on site. Is for $318,439.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We good.
Our next resolution is for one drug prosecutor and administrative assistant in the amount of $193,327, and it's a 10% match, which will be covered by the state. This grant was approved last year by Public Safety in Columbia, but there was no funding, so they've asked that we apply again, and that's for our drug team.
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
The next resolution is for a body-worn storage camera grant. We apply for this every year. It helps pay for our Axon storage, which helps the county. This grant is in the amount of $41,115, and it's a reimbursable grant for the county.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carried.
The next resolution is for a DUI prosecutor for the third year, and it's for Georgetown County. She also assists in Horry County. It's our third and final year, and it's $128,059.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Our next grant is also a continuation grant. It's Violence Against Women's Act. It's for an interpersonal violence investigator. She works with all of our CSC cases and our criminal domestic violence cases, and it's for $164,722.53.
So moved.
All in favor? Motion carried.
Our next resolution is also for a continuation grant. It's our VOCA grant for 4 victim advocates, and in the amount of $386,411.60.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank y'all.
You need to tell Jimmy to give you a raise for all this grant money.
Yeah, I had a busy 3 months.
Good job.
Chief Leonhardt, designating 17th as Police Week.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Before you, I've got several resolutions this morning. The first one is a resolution designating the week of May 10th as Police Week, recognizing all law enforcement officers who in Horry County have paid that ultimate sacrifice.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next, I have a resolution. It's authorizing us to submit and accept an award for grant funding through the Attorney General's Office for our Victims of Crime Act, not to exceed $475,074.06.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion
Thank
carried.
Next, I'll have an additional resolution authorizing the Horry County Police Department and the Sheriff's Office to submit and accept, if awarded, the South Carolina Department of Public Safety Burn Crisis Intervention Program grant, not to exceed $269,717.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and then I have an additional authorizing the Horry County Police Department to submit and accept, if awarded, the South Carolina Department of Public Safety Law Enforcement Network Mini Challenge Grant in the amount of $10,000.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Chairman, who's got the screen? Need to push it up.
Oh.
There we go. Thank you.
All right, and then I have another resolution declaring a retiring police K-9 as surplus property and make it available to its current handler.
So moved.
All in favor? Motion carries.
And then finally on resolution, sir, I have a declaration for a service weapon of a retired or a recently deceased officer to make that surplus equipment and make it available to his family.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we have Chief Leonhardt, take-home vehicle policy.
Yes, sir. Excuse me one second. Do you have a copy of this in here, Mary, or no? Yep. Okay. So what we were working on is a recruitment tool. Currently, our take-home vehicle policy for the Horry County Police Department allows anyone that's within a 10-mile radius of our county in the state of South Carolina to have a take-home vehicle. As a continuation of a recruitment technique that we are looking to employ, we would like to make a motion to change our policy to allow any county that borders our county to allow them to have a take-home vehicle as long as they're in the state of South Carolina. We have seen this from other departments. We have several officers that work from other counties that live in Horry County. And we see those vehicles in our county, and we were wanting to present that to the board and see if that would be an acceptable policy change.
Does that include North Carolina?
No, sir, it'd have to be in the state of South Carolina.
Have to be, or?
It would have to be, by the way the state of South Carolina laws are, they have to be a licensed South Carolina driver, and they can't have a North Carolina address to do that.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you very much.
No. I asked to be placed on the agenda today to talk about running from the police. That's not in our jurisdiction, but I would like for the Public Safety Committee to propose a resolution for the council that would be presented to our local delegation and then sent to the rest of the legislature, because I don't think anybody needs to run from the police. I think if you see a blue light, if they're not for you, you need to pull over and get out of the way. Or if it's for you, you need to pull over and have a conversation with a police officer to find out why they're stopping you. Just looking for support from the Public Safety Committee to move it forward to the full council.
What is the current statute, because the state was supposed to update it or something recently, correct?
Yes, sir, they was pulling that up.
Mr. Jordan, I got it if you want me to address it.
You got it,
Yes,
Chief? Come on up.
Do you know about stuff like that?
I do, sir. Yes, sir. So first offense, currently, if there's no great bodily injury or death, it is still a misdemeanor. A second offense can be a felony. If it's a failure to stop for blue lights and siren, and there's great bodily injury or death, it is automatically a felony now.
I would like to have more teeth in it, because I think if there was more teeth in it, then I don't think people would be as inclined to run. But if you're just getting a little slap on the wrist, once again, we're not the ones who write the rules. But on the state level, they consistently like to write rules for us. So I'm just asking for some help. Because I think when people see the blue lights, the first thought ought to be, I need to pull over, not I need to accelerate. And if you don't have to worry about going to jail, or if it's not that important, more people are inclined to run. So.
A public relations campaign would do far better, because people don't know whether to stop or run.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I don't think. Well, when I watch the news a lot, and the folks that are running are not necessarily trying to get to the grocery store. They're trying to get away. So I just think there ought to be more bite in running from the police.
I would like to report, if I may, on our pursuits, just a tidbit of information. I saw this on the agenda, and it made me curious. So we do our annual pursuit report that we have to turn in. And basically in 2024, we had 203. In 2025, we saw a 19.21% decline down to 164 pursuits. So that was interesting to me. So I think we are starting to see the difference there as far as maybe the law helping a little, but just to kind of give you that information as well.
So that was, there has been a change, and it was effective, or will be effective, May 12th, 2026. Okay. So I can get you a summary of those changes.
Have you read it? Is it?
No, sir, I haven't read it.
Okay. Maybe we'll put this off to the next meeting to find out if has been a big difference. Like I said, I'm just trying to, I think we're all here to make it better, and I'm here to stimulate the conversation. It's not something we can control, but for some reason we get invited to all the things that people want us to be there, and we're here to help. And I think this is the way, if we can say, hey, this is important to us in Horry County, that folks don't need to run from the police, and it's important.
I concur.
So If we just put it off till next month, if you'll let me know
Yes, sir.
if there's any big significant change. Excellent.
Put it off to next meeting.
That's fine.
Defer. Motion defer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Mr. Ron Hauser, Public Defender update.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you for all that you do. This is just a brief update of our last year or so and how things are going in the Public Defender Office. We share the same burdens that everyone else in the Public Safety Division share. I'm sure all of you noticed the March 26, 2026 article in the Post and Courier that says South Carolina is a leader in national population growth, and the percentage of residents increased faster than any other state in 2025, according to the Census Bureau. And of course, Myrtle Beach is the second fastest growing metropolitan area in the country. So, thanks to you folks making this a wonderful place to live, we have a lot more to do, and it just keeps expanding and growing. For our office, we currently have 11 general sessions attorneys, 1 juvenile court attorney, 1 attorney who is staffed at the J. Reuben Long Detention Center, acts as a liaison there, because thanks to the sheriff, thanks to Director Rhodes, we try to work very hard to help folks process through the system as quickly as possible. Also, thanks to the efforts of the Solicitor's Office. We all work more hand in hand than I think most people would realize. We have 3 Horry County investigators, 4 contract attorneys, 1 paralegal, and currently 7 administrative assistants. In the not too distant future, I would love to add a social worker, because I noticed that other public defenders' offices around the state have a social worker. These folks are very good at obviously helping to find resources for our clients to address the root concerns that they have, whether it is a minor mental health issue, whether it is addiction. You know, oftentimes that leads to joblessness, which leads to homelessness, which leads to self-medication with, drugs that are not approved, and with regard to committing crimes, such as shoplifting, such as burglary, things of that nature. So when we can address the root issues, that hopefully helps limit recidivism. These folks coming back through the system again and again. One of the issues that we also faced, as any other part of the Public Safety Division, is that for us, approximately 18 to 20% of the cases we handle are for non-residents, people who do not live in Horry or Georgetown County. They don't live in the 15th Circuit. So our state funding obviously is done in a per capita basis based on what is perceived as the residential population. Does not take into account at all that 1/5 of what we do is for folks who are not part of our full-time population. Let's see. We handle cases in magistrate's court, juvenile court, obviously, general sessions court. And for fiscal year 25 in magistrate's court, we handled 394 tickets or warrants. That has already gone up. So far, for this fiscal year, we're already at 481 and counting. Juvenile court's holding kind of steady. Fiscal year 25 was 442. As of right now, we're at 337 juvenile cases. So it'll probably be about the same at the end of this fiscal year. With regard to general sessions, fiscal year 25, 11 attorneys, 11,293 warrants were handled. And for this fiscal year, we're already a little over 10,000. So we will probably exceed that by the end of this fiscal year. What we are hoping for, and we realize that money is always tight, and I am always appreciative and really in awe of how you folks make the decisions you make. Because it seems like the vast majority of times, those decisions turn out really good for the folks of this county. As a citizen of this county, I thank you. We are hopeful this year. We have asked for one additional staff attorney position to limit the burden on our attorneys who work really, really hard. Like our folks work at night, they work on weekends, just so that they are prepared to appear in court and represent their clients. And that is a heck of a burden they take on. Unfortunately, this past year, we had a young man who was an attorney in our office who had a mental breakdown that caused him to leave the practice of law. And I think the strain was too much for him and it became unbearable. So I'm very mindful for all of our staff, as I'm sure every member of public safety is, with regard to the quality of living that people have. You do a wonderful, wonderful job giving our folks salaries that are, when I look around the state, at least where public defenders are concerned, we are the envy of everyone in the state. Thank you so much. But there's still the issue of the quality of living, to give folks time to actually spend time with their family, get things, off their mind where they actually get a chance to relax. And so an additional staff member would help cut the load on everyone. And I hope that there is enough money in this year's budget to make that happen. Again, as a citizen of this county, thank you guys so much for me and everyone in my office.
Thank you, sir. Now we'll hear from Mr. Marcus Rhodes on, hang on a minute, Marcus. We got to do a resolution. Motion to.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I didn't hear what the chairman said exactly. You made a motion, I know.
No, it wasn't with you.
Wasn't for me.
You good.
Perfect, all right. I didn't want to start down the wrong road right off the bat. Well, thank you for the opportunity to talk for just a minute again about the detention center. Really, I'd like to know if you have some questions or if there are some clarifications that you would like. You would ask me some questions the last time that we were together. I have some of those answers. I don't know what you might be interested in. There was a question about our municipalities and how many people came in from municipalities. Are you interested in some results in that arena?
Please.
Okay, all right. So for the calendar year 2025, there were 5,282 people that came in from municipalities for some charge, some violation of law. Some of those were, yes, sir?
And how many years was that over?
1 year.
So 365 days?
365 days.
5,000?
5,282.
Okay, just checking.
That's all right. The number that we billed for, and I want to explain that, the number that we billed for was $2,796. The reason there's a discrepancy in those numbers, why they don't match, is if it's a state charge, a general sessions charge, something not handled in magistrate's court level or municipal court level, then we are not able to charge for those individuals. So if someone has an assault battery first degree or some general sessions charge, whether it's in a municipality or in the unincorporated area, those are state charges in general sessions court. We don't charge for that. We did charge for the various municipalities, Atlantic Beach, Aner, Conway, Loris, Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach, and Surfside Beach, for 2,796 individuals that were incarcerated. So someone also asked about percentages. Percentages are a little bit harder to calculate over time because they have to be done day by day, but I do have some percentages for you. On March the 24th, 2026, 35% of the individuals staying with us, 35% were there from an Horry County Police Department arrest, 33% from a Myrtle Beach City arrest, 11% from an Horry County Sheriff's Office arrest, 7% from a Conway PD arrest, 4% from North Myrtle Beach, 2% from the South Carolina Highway Patrol, 1% from the U.S. Marshals, and 1% from the Loris PD arrest. Less than 1% would be Surfside Beach, Aner, FBI, SLED, DNR, Probation and Parole, Coastal Carolina, Atlantic Beach, or an extradition company. And we even ventured to try to understand, there was a question about how many people don't reside in Horry County or are tourists. Now, whether they're tourists or not is hard to necessarily answer, but we did run a report from January 1 till December 31 of all of the people that were booked at JRL or North Myrtle Beach. That may sound odd, but our jail management system, North Myrtle Beach and J. Reuben Long, are linked. And so it's hard to separate out those total bookings when you're looking for certain types of statistics. But remember, North Myrtle Beach only had, on the 24th, 4% of individuals that came from North Myrtle Beach in the detention center. So it's a small number. So out of all of the bookings, there are some that don't have zip codes. That was the only way to try to establish that. There was a fair number of folks that are either homeless, or there's a clerical error, or it's not obtained. But out of the group that we were able to obtain zip codes for, 73% were booked in with a home address in Horry County. 27% of the bookings contained a home address outside of Horry County. Then we did another sampling, so that was one calendar year, 365 days. We did another sampling from January 1st, 2025 until April the 6th, just a few days ago, and ran the same numbers. Of that number, 74% had a home address in Horry County, 26% outside. So one was 27% outside of Horry County, one was 26% of Horry County. The detention center itself and capacity, I think that the consultants did a nice job explaining that we absolutely do need to increase our capacity at the detention center. I think they also outlined very well that there needs to be specific type housing for our mental health inmates and our medical inmates in order to comply with the constitutional mandate and the 8th Amendment, in order to do what's right, to give them the opportunity to heal and recover if that's possible, and change those ways. That the only way one major way that we reduce jail population is to reduce recidivism. And it's easy to talk about it, but it's hard to do, and it has to be intentional. So with that said, are there some other thoughts or questions or something else that you would like for me to present or discuss, if I can?
I would just ask the committee if you desire to. I guess we do need some guidance at some point in our budget process as to what we want phase 1 to look like. As we mentioned at the retreat, we've got $6 million in our budget for the CIP for next year to begin that design.
but our consultants will need some type of guidance as to what phase one looks like for that to be productive before they can actually start. We can attempt to have that as a part of this committee or bring that back at second reading for discussion as the council as a whole, but just need some idea as to when you would want to have that conversation.
I'd like to see us start with mental health. We've got a jail, but we really don't have the best mental health facility capabilities. I said we start with that. Because if we can cut back on the recidivism in the beginning, maybe it'll help us in the end by the time we get to jail finished.
Yes. Well, each of the options that our consultants did share with council all started with the same phase one, which has the 574 bed tower, which includes, as Director Rhodes just mentioned, the mental health component as well as the actual medical side as a part of that. And
Sounds like it's pretty much at the top.
And their estimated cost for that is roughly $130 million.
Can we get Kathy from the solicitor's office involved? And I mean, I say that in jest, but every year, I've been here, this is my third year, and every year she's coming asking for a little bit of money to wrangle a bunch of money. Is that a possibility?
We can definitely engage Ms. Floyd in that regard. I say that Ms. Tranter would also be engaged to
Ms.
look.
Tranter does a great job of bringing
Yes.
money in, but once again, with public safety, every year, Ms. Floyd comes and asks for a little bit, and then she lays a lot more on the table.
She does an excellent job, sir.
So, take her to lunch.
Question, what is the capacity of the mental health section in phase one?
Give me just a moment. Let me find that slide. $120 beds, yes, sir.
120 beds.
120 beds. The reason that we configured phase one, the tower, the way we did was you can build wide or you can build up, and going up is much more cost effective. So the floor plan for the mental health beds, the floor plan for the medical beds, of course, that floor plan also has to include clinic, infirmary, staff support, and administrative space. So those particular, that floor plan is more per bed, but not necessarily much more per square foot, if that makes sense. So our hope and our design, when we first looked at the construction, the first tower, the first phase was only 3 floors. It included a mental health floor, a medical floor, and a women's floor. Our females right now are spread across 2 different parts of the campus. Part of them are in the oldest part of one of the oldest buildings in the campus that's end of life. So we felt like we needed to at least include that. When we looked at the numbers of adding a 4th floor, it pushed out, the original plan was 3 towers over the next 10 years, but adding the 4th floor, the men's floor, actually eliminated the need for that 3rd tower. So again, building up is less expensive than building wide, and of course there's a lot of building experts in the room that can help me if I say something that's incorrect, but I got that information from them. But that's the reason that we made such a big investment in that first tower, was to get enough bed capacity in addition to those critical needs spaces all at one time that would allow us then to do away with the need for that 3rd tower in that 10-year projection and push that 2nd tower out a little bit. And that's why the cost of the 2nd tower is so much less than the cost of that first tower, both in the number of beds and the square footage or the price per bed. Does that help, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good enough.
Did you say that the new tower would be $130 million
Yes, sir.
and 580 some beds?
574.
570, okay. I did some rough math and I can't find it now, but it works out to about $225,000 per bed.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Not per house, per bed.
Correct.
Is that, and I don't know what it costs nationwide, but
Well,
it just messes up my mind.
It messed up my mind as well. And I had to dig a little deeper to understand the difference in the standard bed, which if you look at a price in that second tower, the price per bed would be considerably less than that. However, when I looked at what we actually were getting in the floor plan and what was considered, I have it again here highlighted. Give me just a minute so I give you good numbers and it's accurate. Aha. So the medical clinic is square footage, but the clinic area doesn't have a bed, but you still have to have a clinic area for providers and nurses to accomplish their medical needs, even though there's no bed. And then the medical administration area, you've got to have places to have your records for the nurses to do their work. They're documenting all of the components there that are necessary to run a medical area. Then the medical infirmary area has beds, but very few beds. You can't put tight, high numbers of beds in an infirmary area because those needs will be specific. And then staff support areas, there's going to have to be offices and places for staff to work and as we manage and supervise the new tower. There's also the addition of central control right now, our central control area, where is the hub of operations and security in the detention center, is 2 booking eras back. The desk is built with 2x4s and the computers sit on a rough-made desk. The TV screens that operated that and all of the security electronics are antiquated. We make it work. A piece broke about 1.5 years ago and we found it on eBay and we ordered 2 of them and our guys made it work and put them together like many engineers. But that we won't be able to sustain that forever. So that cost of $200,000+ per bed doesn't configure rationally if you think of it that way. But if you think of all of the other things that are in that space that are square footage that drives the cost of the bed up, the square footage is just very different. Does that make sense or not?
And let me just add, if I might, if you look at the project that Georgetown County is actually building currently, I think it's roughly 65 million for less than 300 beds. That's in that same price range.
I won't say what I want.
Yes, I mean, so it does match with a current project in our area.
It's similar, it would be similar to counting the cost of your house based on the square footage of your bedrooms. And
I'm not comparing it to a house, I'm just comparing it to, wow, you know, it just escapes me on how that cost comes up. And I understand kind of why it happens, but
it's based on square footage. The cost is square footage as opposed to cost per beds. But when we look at capacity of a jail, then our natural inclination is to simply say, well, how many people can be there based on the national and state standards? But it's hard to factor in those ancillary components that have to be present for a jail to operate. That's a reasonable. When I looked at it, I scratched my head too, but then I knew somebody might ask me that question, so I dug a little deeper.
Good answer. Any more questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Pivot, to answer your question, I think you were asking us what do we want phase one to look like.
Yes, sir.
I think we need to let Mr. Rhodes and his staff, present that to you as what they need first.
Okay.
And then phase it into the construction.
All right, well, we will have those discussions and have something with our second reading presentation to clarify that so the council understands and votes specifically on the recommendation.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Any more questions from the committee? All right, being none, we have our next meeting, June 10th, 2026, day after primaries. Anything else? We adjourn.
Is there a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman? Third.